Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes? Matt here from YoVideogames, and I'm here to talk about something I really don't like talking about a lot of the time, and that is rumors and speculation. Now, it would have been easy for me to make videos on every crazy cool rumor I heard, but considering how often a lot of times it either isn't true at all, or is only partially true, I just don't like having too much content that's super inaccurate on just sitting up there on my YouTube channel. Just a personal thing, so I usually stay away from rumor videos, but I'm kind of getting to the point on this rumor that it's like, this is looking more and more likely every day. And I'm talking, of course, about brand new Switch models. Now, this was reported kind of with a thud last fall by the Wall Street Journal in Japan saying, hey, Nintendo's going to have a new Switch model for 2019. And that was kind of it. Nobody really seemed to confirm it. Nobody really seemed to jump on board with it. And it kind of just dropped from there and was just kind of forgotten about. Mostly because everyone was kind of like, that both kind of seems like both something you can pull out of your ass easily. Both something that could be true, but without many details. It's kind of like predicting a new Mario game is coming. So kind of ignored it, and then later on we come to this week and boom, Wall Street Journal's back, but now they have details. And to go along with them, other people in the industry are also coming out and saying, I've heard the same thing. Eurogamer comes out and says, I've heard the same thing. So it seems like we are probably going to get 2 new Switch models this year, and crazily enough, it seems like they want to push it out by the summer. Now I'm going to talk about all of this and the reasons for the release date possibly being true and all that jazz. But just want to get away, like, this is starting to me to look like, this might probably be true, just because it's enough people coming out and saying, like, yeah, I've heard the same thing. Now, some people might say, like, why would they release a Switch model now when the system is doing so successful? That's really un-Nintendo-like. I'm like, it's not really that un-Nintendo-like, actually. Now, home console, yes, you have a point if you were to say that Nintendo traditionally doesn't do a lot of revisions on their home consoles. That's kind of true when you look back at their history. Like the Nintendo, they got an NES revision way late in the system's life. The Super NES, same damn deal. Got a system revision way late in the system's life. N64 never got a revision, got a Pikachu version, again, way late in the system's life. But, then you move on to GameCube. It never really got any revisions. The Wii did. There was a Wii Mini way late in the system's life, and the Wii U didn't, of course, either. So, and you look at it that way, it's only the bigger failures of Nintendo consoles that didn't get a revision. But the highly successful ones did get a revision, I'll bet, much later. Now, let's not pretend that Switch is a traditional home console, though, because it's not. It's a hybrid. And when you look at the portable market, this actually falls exactly in line with how Nintendo usually introduces new models of portable gaming, going back to the Game Boy Advance, because they had the Game Boy Advance, and then really, within 2 years, they moved on to the SP, and then they had the ill-fated Mini, which I still kind of want to own a Mini someday. I don't know, it's just kind of cool, little tiny little thing. But anyways, the same thing happened with the DS, where you had the original model, which I still have an original launch model of my DS, still works. And then they went to the much better DS Lite model, roughly around 2 years after that. And then the 3DS has had many, 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 many revisions, including the new 3DS, which was a power upgrade over the old one slightly. So, yeah, this follows a pretty traditional timetable when you look at portables, not so much for home consoles, but yeah, that might lead some credence to it. And then the thing is that Nintendo really wanted to try to sell 20 million Switches last year. But everyone kind of knew that was going to be a really tough call to make with only like 2 big games, and those 2 big games really only coming at the very ass end of the year. So yeah, by January, Nintendo had to raise the white flag, or admit, we're not going to make it to 20 million. We're probably going to make it to 17 million. So they want to keep momentum going. Their 20 million prediction was always kind of like shooting for the fucking moon anyways. It's not like, oh my gosh, it's starting to slip. It's more like that was a ridiculous goal in the first place. But, getting pretty close is not bad. But here's the thing. They do got to try to keep momentum going for the next, going into the end of this year. And honestly, hardware refreshes like this kind of help. I mean, it's sad to say, but they do, especially when, if they have a really a form factor that's really appealing, or they really change it up, or they, even worse, for at least for me, is they add colors. Colors and special editions and stuff. And they've kind of had some special editions with like Smash bundles and stuff, and some have come with different colored Joy-Cons, but like if you could get a console itself to really stand out even more, that could be a thing. So what is exactly this rumor? The crazy thing is that it's not a new Switch model, it's two new Switch models, and it's almost kind of like, some people thought, hey, when we heard the rumor last fall, a lot of people were thinking it's going to be a smaller version, it's going to be a more portable version. And that was the camp I was firmly in, because Nintendo always does what Japan wants, and they kind of don't give a shit about the rest of the world. They kind of just, what's the thing that's going to sell the most in Japan, and the rest of the world will follow suit. That's the way it's worked since the 1980s, and nothing has ever changed ever, nothing ever will change, because we are Nintendo, and this is how we run our business. Ugh. So, that being said, it does seem like we were kind of both right. We're going to get a Switch Mini and a Switch Pro. That's sort of how the rumors are kind of being labeled as. That's how people are thinking it. Because the idea here is that there's going to be a boosted Switch and a smaller, more portable one. And I think this would actually just be, in general, a really good idea. Because it kind of hits both camps, and I think both would be satisfied. And really, like, even the original Switch would be fine as is. It kind of depends on what happens with the Pro. I think the big question mark is the Pro itself. But I guess we'll just talk about the Mini first. The Mini is basically, the idea is that it's mostly meant for portable gaming. Some people have speculated that it might be more durable. Some even saying it may not have detachable Joy-Cons. I think it has to have detachable Joy-Cons. Too many games like Super Mario Party rely on that. Some have speculated that it might be a clamshell, because that's the one thing. The rumors did say that the design, and the industry insiders have come out and said the designs for both of these remodels are not like the original Switch, which to me, I'm like, okay, I'm just thinking a clamshell design for the Switch Mini, just for form factor, rigidness, because this is the system you give your kid, and kids tend to like to throw things a lot, so it may not have a clamshell design at all. It may be more like original 2DS, like a big brick or a big stone slab. But I'm just kind of thinking, maybe it's gonna have something protected screen there, from all the kids being kids. That's just kind of my take on it. I don't know. I imagine it will be smaller. I imagine one way to cut the cost on this thing will be maybe it won't have HD rumble. Maybe it'll just have basic rumble, and probably not going to come with a dock. That's probably a good way just to cut money off the whole thing in general. It just doesn't come with a Nintendo toaster, and yeah, like you can cut like $50 off the price just right there alone. And then that leads into the much more interesting Switch Pro. Now here's the thing. I find it funny how both Wall Street Journal and Eurogamer both said that, yes, it will be a more powerful system, but it will not be as powerful as a PS4 Pro or an Xbox One X, Box X1, X1, Box X1. And kind of no shit. Anyone expecting Nintendo to suddenly release a portable hybrid console that's as powerful as an Xbox One, Xbox One X, Xbox is out of their mind. But the specs that were thrown around by at least one person were really interesting, because it basically, one thing I read was that it would go from 4 gigs of RAM to 8 gigs of RAM, and it would be more based on the Tegra 2 chip, X2 chip, rather than the Tegra 1 chip, for which the current Switch models are all based on the Tegra 1, or a modified Tegra 1. And this is really interesting because this each is, I don't know, each is not a word, close is like inches, it closer and closer to basically a base Xbox One. The vanilla, non-S, non-X, just vanilla launch model of the original Xbox One. And that's mighty powerful. That is ridiculously good for a portable. And in fact, it could, if it was able to get close to that or even to that level, that means a lot more crazy third-party ports could more realistically happen, even going so far as to maybe legitimize that misprint in the Australian ad for Red Dead Redemption 2 on a Switch. So The question is then, would a Switch Pro then have exclusive games that the original Switch model couldn't do? And I'm going to say, at least for Nintendo's sake, Nintendo will not do it themselves. They will. There's too many millions of Switch owners out there to suddenly ostracize and just kind of like ignore. So I think for sure all Nintendo first-party titles will be cross-platform. I know people would say, but wait, the new Nintendo 3DS that launched with an exclusive game. Yeah, that is true. However, 3DS was kind of well into its life by that point, so it's not 2 years. The new 3DS was much later in. And secondly, it was like one first-party game, first-party retail game, and that was Xenoblade Port. That was like the only game Nintendo ever made for new Nintendo 3DS that only worked on new Nintendo 3DS. I think there might have been one more, but I think it was a download title. But yeah, there was no real big support for the only works on new Nintendo 3DS. Now, there are some games that worked a lot better, like Hyrule Warriors Legends, and I think that's going to be more the area they're going to go, is that they'll have games that'll run on a base Switch, but, will be obviously enhanced. And here's where I think the timing kind of comes in. So them saying summer is interesting because it's not fall, because usually you always say fall, but Nintendo learned probably a very, very good lesson with the launch of the original Switch, and that is, it's kind of nice to launch outside of a crazy holiday rush season, because here's the thing, early adopters will always early adopt. You can release the game whenever, or the system in this case, you can release it whenever you want. You can release it in the middle of August, and early adopters will line up, around the block, will wait overnight. They will be there. So it's kind of better to get the early adopters all out of the way in a dead season, and then when the Black Friday rolls around and all the vicious soccer moms waiting to give their to offset their bad parenting with wonderful expensive Christmas gifts, they will kill each other over that during the holidays. So it's actually kind of win-win in a way. And I think kind of one thing that kind of maybe legitimizes this a little bit is that if you look at the summer output from Nintendo, it kind of lines up a bit, because you got Fire Emblem in July, and Mario Maker in June, Fire Emblem in July, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, who gives a fuck when, and Astral Chain on August 30th, which I always thought was weird how Astral Chain got a specific day, not just a month, but a day. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I actually really like that. But here, now, a summer release for a Switch Pro starts to make sense. I don't know how much Fire Emblem might take advantage of a Switch Pro, but it certainly couldn't hurt. But something like Astral Chain from Platinum being an action game, that would benefit greatly from a Pro model. It would probably run a lot smoother, a lot better. And if it's positioned kind of just after the launch of a Switch Pro model, that's kind of win-win. That's kind of almost like, you could almost see the game being the promotional tool, or the game you buy the Pro for. It's certainly the game I would buy the Pro for, but it's definitely one that would benefit greatly from added horsepower. So I'm almost like, yeah, this is almost kind of lining up. This might be a thing. And then moving forward, the reason why I would be excited personally about a Pro is that, A, of course, Astral Chain, but 2, it would be exciting for Bayonetta 3, because it's obviously getting more horsepower is better for Bayonetta. And then, of course, whatever they do for the next Zelda game, because even Zelda on the Switch had moments where it would chug. And of course, that could just be because it was a port from the Wii U quickly shoved over to the Switch. But either way, there were still moments where the game would freeze or chug, and I watched it on launch, launch day, and it was like, it was good. But of course, it was a little better than the Wii U version. But the other thing too is that with the new Zelda, and trust me, there's a video to talk about that, not being constrained by the limitations of the Wii U hardware, there's the possibility they can make it look and run much, much better, because even a base Switch has a lot more juice than a basic Wii U. So I could almost see this lining up. Now, their end of the year stuff probably is not going to make any use of the Switch Pro, but that comes into back to the Switch Mini, where you have games like Pokemon launching this year, and it's like, yeah, that doesn't look like it's pushing graphics anywhere anytime soon. And you could bundle that with the Switch Mini, and it would sell gangbusters. Link's Awakening remake obviously doesn't look like it's pushing any sort of graphical fidelity. Again, another good game for the Switch Mini. And then you have the other oddball titles like Luigi's Mansion and Animal Crossing, which kind of probably could run just fine on anything there. So, but yeah, as far as like the other games like Astral Chain and Fire Emblem, that could be a real big selling point for the launch of the Switch Pro, which might be why it's coming in summer. And Mario Maker 2, to an extent, like you might be able to I don't think Nintendo would do this, but you could potentially say I could make crazier, more hectic, chaotic levels in Mario Maker 2 that only run on the Switch Pro, which would be a nice selling point, but I don't think they'll do that because I don't think Nintendo wants to fragment the games at all. Mario Maker 2 is probably going to run just fine on every version of the Switch. I don't think the Switch Mini is going to go back or scale back on technology either. Like, it's not going to be less powerful than the regular Switch. They'll just be smaller. It'll cut some features out, fluffy stuff, and probably no toaster. And that's fine. You don't need a toaster to play the Switch, but I prefer playing my Switch games on the TV. The other added benefit of the Pro is the possibility that maybe you could go back and you could take older games that kind of don't run super well in docked mode and make them run well while playing portable. That would actually be a nice boon, a nice big boost of a feature. Certainly games like Xenoblade 2 and Rime and some others, like they could really benefit from having a boosted portable mode, which I think that's like one thing the Pro could do. And then there's other looking forward to the future. Of course, there are other games like Doom Eternal. There's the Wolfenstein Youngblood and other games that are coming out. And interestingly, the new Samurai Showdown, which comes out in June for Xbox and PlayStation 4, it's not coming out till Q4 on the Switch, which I didn't understand why they would hold back, but maybe it's because of the Pro model. They want the Pro model to be out because it's going to just run better on the Pro. So, yeah, I can see a world where this all kind of like lines up, and yeah, like some game companies will be really, yeah, this is great. We'll be able to not chop down the game too hard if you're running it on the Switch Pro version. So this is kind of exciting. And I usually don't buy Pro models of systems. I usually don't like small upgrades. I personally, but the thing is like when it comes to Platinum Games titles and stuff, I really do want the best experience possible there. So if it's Astral Chain and Bayonetta 3 and it's real, this Pro model is real, I'm gonna kind of be forced my hand into getting it because I'm gonna want to play Monolith Soft's new games on it. I'm gonna want to play the Platinum titles on it, and I enjoy those games kind of the most of any game experience right now. And damn it, they're gonna force my hand on it. I don't like it, but I gotta do what I gotta do. So let me know what you guys think of the Switch Mini and Switch Pro. Maybe it's total bullshit, and maybe I've already doomed myself from making a video that's completely irrelevant. But let me know what you guys think of the rumors, and I will see you on the channel. Later, dudes.